Hello, readers. Welcome to 20 Questions with Your Favorite Author, where we ask authors important questions like, why would you agree to be on this podcast? I'm Kelly Lynn Colby, Editorial Director at Cursed Dragon Ship Publishing. Our guest this week is Mike Jack Stoumbos, spec fic writer and believably normal school teacher. Mike is the author of the space opera series, The Fine Crew, and is a first-place winner of the Writers of the Future contest. He has short stories in several anthologies, including one alongside Brandon Sanderson. When he's not writing or teaching, he's hanging out with his wife and their parrot. If he's not your favorite now, he will be after. Yay! Welcome, Mike. How are you in this fine evening?
I'm doing well, Kelly. Thank you for having me.
Excellent, excellent. Welcome, welcome. So are you really believably normal as a school teacher?
No, not really. It's a mask that I occasionally sometimes try to wear.
Okay.
Every now and again, my students will attempt to apply other adjectives to me that don't really fit. Like sometimes they will try to tell me that I am, quote, chill, and I'm like, no, I'm not at all chill. Like I can be relaxed about certain things, I can be intense about certain things. I will get angry at you about this. I am never going to be the chill teacher. Sorry, we're pulling that away right now.
Just because I'm organized and not screaming all the time doesn't mean that I'm chill.
Yeah.
Yep. And what do you teach?
Ooh, that's a long question. I have taught a lot of different things. I have my master's in teaching and a long enough background of different things that I'm certified to teach English language arts, theater, math, and English as a foreign language. I got my international TEFL cert as well. So those four things, and then whatever else tacks onto them, which is quite a bit. So I've also taught a lot of things related to theater, like set design and lighting. I've taught film studies, and I have frequently been put into test prep teaching and tutoring. So I've taught ACT, SAT, AP, so on and so forth. So I did 3 years of English at teaching in public school, 3 years of math teaching, and a little bit of like mix and match from there at a private international school. And then afterwards, I've been substitute teaching and picking up 2 to 10 week gigs, usually once again in English or math, wherever they need me to fill. So yes, I teach a lot of things.
That's one way not to get bored.
Yeah.
Mystic wants to know, what age children do you normally teach?
I originally started with like high school, and that meant that I was always put into freshman classes with one other age group. And then it expanded. I have worked with a pretty big range by now, and when we started moving things online with, everything shutting down with COVID, I was like, hey, this is a great opportunity to teach some, creative writing classes and theater classes from home to kids. And I ended up having a lot of 6 to 10-year-olds in these workshops. And so sort of hopped back to that. And yeah, and that was actually a lot of fun. Really dive back into it.
You could just be nice. You really don't have to be that critical. I would like that. I think I need that a little bit, maybe.
It's very easy to be nice in online teaching if nobody's worrying about like a specific grade or graduation date.
True. True. Or, about to send their novel off or their short story to a big contest. Do your students know that you're an accomplished writer who won the Writers of the Future contest?
I think that most of them don't know what that is. Amusingly enough, in some of the workshops, I use Writers of the Future like collections and other short story collections as sort of examples and workshops. And so I have had students, this is not a copyright violation, I'm noting that in advance. I have had students read through like the opening page and a half of a story, and then we pick apart the different pieces, and we're like, all right, how would you want the story to finish, and write it from there. And I've used pieces from Writers of the Future for that, because frequently they have fairly vivid beginnings, and they have various hints to the world that like kids want to tease into. And I pre-read them to see if there are any adult themes that I should shy away from, and then I skip that story and use a different one.
Yes, that's clever. That's a good way to use some short stories too.
Yeah.
It's very nice. So the story that you have in there, first of all, congratulations. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Yes. And secondly, is the story a standalone piece, or is it part of the This Fine Crew universe?
That is something that I actually can't comment on. I have been told that I'm not allowed to talk about any of the content of that piece because so since it was one of the quarterly first place winners, right. I'm up for the potentially the Golden Pen Award, so on and so forth. Knock on wood, whatever other kinds of charms or superstitions you'd like to do to root for me, yay! But I'm not allowed to talk about any specifics about that story. So I've been sitting on it for I'm not sure how long now. Like since I submitted it back in December of 2020.
Honey.
There are
Oh
very
my
few
gosh.
people who have read it, other than like my wife and my brother and my parents. And it's like we're just kind of keeping it there. We're like, all right, not gonna, yeah,
Shh. That's hard, right? You have this awesome thing and you can't tell anyone about it except that you won.
yeah, pretty much.
Oh, that's cool. That's right.
Yeah,
After you win the whole thing for the year, then I'll be ready to hear all about it.
there we go. Yeah, yep,
See, put it out there. Put it out there.
yes,
Um, they're playing with bots in the chat. It's very distracting.
sounds
Um,
fun.
let's see. Friday
Well, I
Blue
didn't
wants to know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Friday Blue wants to know what of your books or stories was the most enjoyable to write.
That is a good question. I think the one that I had the most fun with, novel length, was the first of the This Fine Crew books, because that one I went into with literally no outline, and I was just like, I need something fun and engaging for myself that I can just have a go at. And I had a concept of these characters, I had a universe that I'd been building for a while, and I knew a situation that I wanted to try to build people into that was like a little bit weird and hard to orchestrate, and seems like a Shakespearean farce when it all comes together in terms of the various pieces that you have to orchestrate. But it just seemed really fun, and so yeah, so I just sat down and started writing it, and didn't really stop. I didn't do anything weird or out of order. I never ran into a writer's block moment on that one. Not that that doesn't happen for other pieces, but that one in particular, I didn't run into any writer's block. I didn't really like get to any point of worrying too much about it, except for one moment, and my wife will attest to this. Like close to the end, I'm like, I wonder if the ending is climactic enough. Do you think it will be? And she always laughs at me when I say that, because then she reads and she's like, yes, the ending is totally climactic enough,
Yes,
and
it's
you don't
good,
have to
hon.
worry about it.
Good.
Just write it. Yeah. In
That's
terms of
good. You're worried about reader experience. That's a good thing for a writer
yeah,
to be, I think.
yeah. In terms of short stories, I've had a lot of fun with different pieces, and like once I've finished the previous one, the most fun one is the next one that I'm thinking of during my drive that distracts me from whatever audiobook that I'm listening to. And yeah, then I just want to go write it.
You're like, I must do this now. I have ideas.
Yeah.
Well, I love the idea in This Fine Crew that you have humans are known as the species who make war. So you have all
Yes.
different species and they all have different reputations. So humans are
Yep.
the ones that make war, but now they want to redeem themselves. So
Yes.
where did this idea come from? Where was that spark?
Ooh. So this actually starts a few years before I started writing this book. I play Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games. This is probably not a shock to a lot of people who have met me or who are hearing this interview. And yeah, so I GM, and I have frequently been introduced to space opera-ish role-playing systems, and I don't like any of them. Not to sound like a negative Nancy here, but like so many of them are reskins of the D20 power track or something else like that. And I'm like, I really don't want something with levels or hit points. And so I started creating my own universal space opera role-playing system that was all about like each episode there's a situation, your crew has to work together and find their synergies, investigate the problem, figure out whatever the thing is, fix it by the end of the episode, yay, we move on. Like Star Trek, Stargate, Battlestar Galactica, anything with star in it. Maybe less Battlestar Galactica, they don't always fix it.
The old one, maybe.
And so yeah. and so I started like just drumming out ideas for what originally I wanted to be a totally universal, you can do any kind of space opera in there. And along the way, when writing out examples, I came up with the template for various archetypal species, and that's what I called them at first. They didn't have their original names. They were like the big hairy warrior race, who is your Wookiees / Klingons, and there was the hive mind insect race, which we can pull directly from Ender's Game if we want to start there, and then move on from from that direction. The cold-blooded reptilian race. And so on and so forth. So this was the process. And so by the time I was drumming out these examples and like these little italicized paragraphs of here's this funny thing that would happen, it's like, well, I have a universe together, and I started trotting out little story ideas, and then this one kind of emerged from it. So so that's the long answer to get to where we are here. In this particular universe, all of the species have some kind of reputation, and the humans were only brought on the scene because one of the other species needed somebody who was willing to blow things up more than they were. And they're like, we have heard about these humans from other aliens who go and buzz by their planet. We're going to get them on our side and have them blow up our enemy. And so that's how the
You
humans
need something
established
blown
their
up. The
reputation.
humans were like,
Right, exactly. So that's the humans established their reputation. They brokered a deal with another alien species who was like, we can deal with your environmental stuff and your propulsion issues. We can help you get to other stars and settle the planets. You're going to help us blow stuff up. And thus a reputation was forged, and they're like, well, drat, now we're the military ones here. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. It's such a clever idea. You brought up D&D. We're very much about D&D around here too. And Og wants to know, what do you think is the best D&D race, and why is it gnomes?
I have played gnomes before, and they are fun.
See, they're fun, Og. Write that down.
Yeah, I think that the best ones are the ones that were like later eliminated, or they had to seriously level adjust. Like there was that period when like I think it was 3.0 kept adding on other stuff, and the people were like, "Oh no, this breaks the game. We need to level adjust like crazy." My personal favorites are usually to play halflings or gnomes, and then I usually play characters who are, I will call them playful good.
Playful
as opposed to that is my alignment. A lot of people try to go super chaotic or super lawful. I'm like, no, I'm playful good.
Like Kender or Dragonlance.
Yeah, and at one point I was in a campaign where my buddy and I were playing. He was a giant Goliath thing that didn't speak to anyone, and I was a tiny halfling that sat on his shoulder, and he would throw me into battle. And then we saw Guardians of the Galaxy, and we were like, oh dear, we're Rocket and Groot. Okay, well there's that. And
hey, it's a trope. I love it. No, that's fun.
Yeah, it was enjoyable.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So it is gnomes. That's it. You've made a fan now. Yes, Og's on board with gnomes.
Yep.
Florida Kevin says gnomes taste the best. So
oh, I do have a fun sketch of a gnome. I do I draw people's characters, so folks will contact me about like
is
putting
there
them
anything
into
you can't do? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know. Probably. I like trying a lot of art. It's not always great, but I like trying it. But no, I have a really fun like gnome sketch. Of somebody wanted to be a gnome alchemist with a giant spoon for mixing things and then catapulting potions into battle. And so I drew that character, and that one is on my website. So that's one of the ones that I popped up there because it just needed to be featured.
So cool. Oh my gosh, multi-talented. I'm not jealous at all. Let's see. So talking about Find Crew, because we have to move on, or we'll talk about D&D all night. I love we talked about that. If you were forced to live in this world that you've created, what one tool would you bring with you from your current life to help?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's a new one. I like it.
Yeah. What tool would I bring from my current world with me? Ooh. Something that stores and plays music. Because there's a comment about like the cadets at the academy being able to bring very, very, very little with them. And so each person like brings something small that kind of fits within the storage requirements. And then they're all issued, their uniforms and their flight suits and their wrist devices. And that's about it. And they've got like one personal item. And I would want to bring something that I could use to just like music mode and be able to step away from whatever the modern futuristic
world is. Yeah. I need to feel at home for a moment.
Yep.
Yep, that's a good answer. I need my music too. So for this first book, you said it was easy to write. How long did it take you?
10 weeks. Actually, each of the books in this trilogy was a 10-week write.
Really? So the whole thing has been pretty easy. It's not...
Yeah, Book 2, I'm not sure if I would say the book 2 was easy, and the circumstances around all the stuff that was happening while I was trying to write book 3 was intense. So like life stuff and other commitments got nuts then. But book 1, I managed to type the end right after sort of the 8-week mark. And then I went through and shorted it up, and I'm like, cool, I like this story. This is fun to read. And, sent it out to my alpha readers right around the 10-week. But yeah, the other ones have been pretty consistently a 10-week completion.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's called discipline. We all need a little bit of that.
That was the
That's what that is. So doing this now, you said you are published with Chris Kennedy. So congratulations. We've had quite a few of his authors on. What What authors, so speaking of that one, so it's just a lot of authors we've had through there. What authors have inspired you along the way? They don't have to be Chris Kennedy ones, but they can be. They might be listening.
That's fair. So there are a lot of people that I had met in the recent years that I'm like, this person seems really cool, and I like their vibe. I like their presence in the community and the kinds of things that they're working on. So Todd Fonestock, whose last name
I love him. He was one of our first guests 2 years ago.
Oh yeah. Oh cool.
Oh, he's awesome.
I really appreciated his attitude, and I really appreciated what he brought into community. And I've also I recently read his book Kaiven the Unkillable, which is through CKP, so there is a little bit of like associated bias there, but like it's really good. I seriously appreciated that one. I need to read the next one that's just come out. I'm also in that universe, so it's a big shared fantasy universe, and all of the covers kind of do look like D&D covers, so there is some direct appeal there. But I really liked how Todd worked in the community, and also on the same token, for people who have met Todd and seen him at any events, Chris Mandeville, who works with Todd and does the First Pages party, Chris was really instrumental in sort of helping me get involved in more of the community and to start hosting things. And I started hosting online write-ins for other authors, some of whom were emerging like me, and some of whom were like, oh, you're way more professional than I am. This is intimidating, but okay, join us. Write with us. We'll talk a little bit.
Hey, peer pressure can be powerful.
Yeah, so those two were very, very helpful in the last couple of years. Kevin J. Anderson is actually the person who I had read a lot of and followed prior to getting involved in the community, and so my introduction to everyone else happened because I wanted to meet him at a Comic-Con. And I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. I have a Star Wars tattoo on my right arm. I also have a Star Trek tattoo on my chest. So like, yes to both there.
You're the communicator. That's what I want.
I do. I have a comm badge.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
See?
Yep. I have a comm badge on my chest, and inside the comm badge, I have a silhouette of the NSEA protector from Galaxy Quest.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want a comm badge.
Yeah, and then I guess the earlier ones before that, I read a lot of like Asimov and Heinlein and that kind of thing growing up, which is probably a lot of the standard answer for science fiction authors. And then some of the weird ones, I read a lot of plays. I actually started writing for stage. So that was when I was studying drama, and I was writing plays and doing what I could to get those produced. And so yes, I read a lot of like the very classic theater literature, and trying to maneuver from some of the things that I learned in theater writing that don't totally translate to novel writing has been interesting. And then editors correct me, and that's okay. Yeah.
No, that's great. Well, I bet you get the blocking well, though. It's funny that I realized when I as an editor, when I go through, I'm like, the blocking's off. Like, he had a sword, he doesn't, and some people are like, the what? It's like, the block. Is that not a term people use? I don't.
I mean, it's what I use, and I actually can't think of a single time that an editor has told me that I needed to change anything in terms of defining where characters were placed in a room or how they were moving relative to each other. So I think I would agree.
It's probably that stage training.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. I think that's the same reason why I see it in my head, right? I see it. So I'm quick to point out, it's not working.
Yep. I often draw diagrams and character sketches. These are not necessarily good. I am not a professional artist, but these are my concept sketches so that I can see it.
Makes sense.
So I do
especially
a lot of
when you
that.
have lots of characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever written a scene and then realized you left someone out of the scene?
Yes. Yes. I feel like it's been a bit though. So one of the things that I do to prevent myself from doing that is I have a habit of keeping sticky notes in a journal nearby, so I can make note of who is where when and who I need to be at a certain place at a certain time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've gotten to an end of a chapter and I was like, Gregor was here. Gregor was here the whole time. He did nothing the whole time. Dang it. I need to add it back in.
Yeah.
Nope, I feel you. So even with the blocking, of course, that's my own work, right? It's different when you're reading someone else's than when you're creating your own. It's very different. Do you have a question?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, you're good. They're here for you, man. You want to talk.
Sometimes I will forget to mention a character for like the second half of the book. Like they will show up in the beginning and then they'll be off screen and I will forget to mention them. So if they're not on screen, then it is, or on stage or on page or whatever we want to call it, it's hard for me to remember to say, by the way, this person's doing this in the background. So sometimes that's something that I will fill in, like, as the very last step, even after all the proofing. I will reread through it and be like, oh, this character is actually an important emotional stakes character in the first third of the book, and I don't mention them after a certain point. I need to at least allude to them existing.
Acknowledge their existence, right?
Yep.
Yep, that's clever. Because we do that in everyday life, right?
Yeah.
So, Og wants to know, what's the best play or musical that you have done? You can define best however you want.
Yeah. I was in a production of Bat Boy, the musical. If anyone's familiar with this one, Bat Boy was written by like Keith Farland, the folks who did Urinetown. And so it's, rock musical based on like the structure of a Greek tragedy and that tabloid story about Bat Boy found in a cave. It is delightful, and I actually highly recommend people looking up the music. So this was the University of Washington's grad school production thing, and I was cast as one of the leads. So I was one of the two leads in that one, and it was so cool and so much fun and so much work to do, and it was like gut wrenching because it's like Greek tragedy proportions, and I had to kill 5 people and myself every night on stage while we were going through this. And when the director found out that I do partner dance, so at the time I was teaching blues and swing dance as well. He's like, oh, you can choreograph this number. So there's a bit where I, as the evil doctor having an epiphany, am supposed to pick up this adult version of the Bat Child found in cave and dance around the stage with him on this raked stage that has a bunch of pitfalls, and like get very close to the edge and lean, and then get close to the other edge and lean. Yes, those pictures are also available online. Those ones never got taken down, and those are fun. Yeah.
And apparently you didn't die, so it worked out okay.
I did not die, or unless this have been all a dream since then. Yes, I did not die.
Yes, Florida Kevin. Yes, he can sing too. Do you see that? I know. Yeah. Yep. He could do all the art things. And apparently you can teach math too. So you're even good at math. Jeez. Do you know all the constellations too? Come on now.
I do not.
Find a weak point.
No.
No?
I am not the very model of a modern Major General.
Younger than the Beatles, but older than the Rolling Stones. Let's see. No, it's the other way around. Older than the Beatles, but younger than the Rolling Stones. That's what it is.
Okay.
That's the Pirates of Penzance. It's the pirate movie version.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a satire. It's got oh my gosh, I'm gonna forget everyone's name in it. But anyways, it's hilarious. And the only person that was actually on Broadway with it is the guy who plays the Pirate King, and it's so good. And it's a modern version, right? So there's some rock, like you said, there's some rock stuff in it. It's one of my favorite musicals growing up.
That's fun.
Love it. Yeah, I would highly recommend looking at one. It is worth a watch. That's very catchy music. And they only do a couple songs from Pirates of Penzance, and that's one of them. They do the Modern Major General, but they put some different lines in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Like that one. Older than the Beatles, or younger than the Beatles. No, other way. See, I'm going to get it right. Older than the Beatles, but I'm younger than the Rolling Stones. And so they do it with all the girls singing in the background, all his daughters. So it's really fun. It's a bit on the dirty side, though, and it cracks me up because when I watched it as a kid, I didn't get half the jokes.
Yeah.
Right? So when I watch it again as an adult, I was like, oh, I didn't even get that one.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good kind of dirty joke. The one where, like, if a child happens to see or hear it, like, it's not going to negatively impact them.
Nope.
It's later a reference to enjoy once they're old enough to be like, oh, how fun.
I know.
How delightfully clever.
And that's
very
exactly.
Good. Well done, Tim Curry. Well done. Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a lot of fun. Highly recommend. Well, that actually leads me to my next question. If you could listen, ready? This is a tough one. I'm sorry. I apologize now, but I'm asking it anyways. Sure. If you could listen to only one musical for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
Ooh. Is there a good collection musical review that I can pull off?
Cheater.
There's probably a way. If I could listen to only one musical, my knee-jerk reaction would be to say Les Miserables, but I don't know if that's one that I would want on loop forever. It's just there's so much song content. It's the whole thing. Yeah, the whole thing is an opera that has enough movements in it that I can pull from it and not get as sick of it as quickly.
That's or you could just listen to One Day More and skip the rest of it because that really tells you the entire story.
I've done a re-lyriced version of One Day More, which is One Drink More. Like full on lyrics. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is one that I posted and then pulled down from social media because I'm like, I don't want my students to see this. I'll put it back later when I'm no longer in the teaching world as much.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
You need a pseudonym. Yeah,
Maybe.
that's awesome. So is Les Mis your answer?
I think it has to be. I can't come up with anything that I need to switch it to for now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe at the end of the thing, like 30 minutes from now, I'll be like, aha.
Wait, I know.
Yes. No, I think that'll be it.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Les Mis, that works for me. I mean, a little depressing, but otherwise it works.
Yeah.
Like you said, musically though, that hard to get tired of it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine any of your stories on the stage?
Yes.
Yes.
So for one, I have written stage plays that have been produced. So I've gone through that process and for my very first one, I wanted to be super involved and hands-on and like fine tune and tweak every piece of it. And like by the third, I was like, no, you guys do what you want. I wrote it. It's yours now. Just take it. Do the thing. You good. And I was able to do that through the rest of them. So I've had 10 productions from things that I've written.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So like I've gotten to see various treatments of them, and there were a couple where people wanted me involved, and I was like, no, sorry, I'm working on a different project. This is yours now. You do you. And awesome. I get to see
such a healthy way to look at it too. Good for you.
Yeah. Well, I to some degree I feel like I do that whenever like I submit a short story for publication. Like, you know, once somebody else has picked it up, like it's theirs. If they have a specific way that they're treating like grammar or phrasing or whatever, like that comma that comes before to, like at the end of a sentence, comma, TOO, I don't understand the point of it, but if they want to put it in, cool. I'm not going to quibble about it. It's theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's fair.
I don't feel that way about everything, but I'm trying to get better at it.
I see why you're successful. Writers take note. Comma's not that important, I promise. That's awesome. So much on the stage. Let's see. Your bio lists an interesting pet, a parrot. That's so cool. I've always wanted a parrot. What kind of parrot is he or she? If you know.
So she is a Solomon Islands eclectus. She is red and purplish blue. And there are times when I will let her sit on my shoulder for various calls. I didn't know if she would take kindly to this one, so I opted not to.
Never know.
Yeah. And she is she's older than you'd expect her to be. So she's like, what, 22, 23 now? So she's old enough to order her own drink. She doesn't say too many words, but she tries to sing along with things. She will sing along with like the Star Trek theme. And for Star Wars, if ever R2-D2's on screen and starts making noises, she will repeat them back. And my wife and I make the comment that she flirts with R2-D2. R2 is her boyfriend.
They would have such cute babies.
Very much so.
They'd be so cute. Has she showed up in any of your stories?
No, actually, she is not.
Oh, that could be fun.
I have a habit of not including pets in stories because I'm never quite sure what to do with them. Because there's always that temptation to either make them like this pivotal focus or to have something terrible happen to them and have them be a stakes character that drives the hero forward. And I don't really like doing either of those things, so I've left them out. For the most part, yeah.
Well, good thing you don't write pirate stories. I mean, that could be a problem.
Could happen
you
eventually.
Gotta have pets. Yeah, it's required. Doesn't have to be a parrot, but there have to be animals. It's just a requirement.
Yeah. I've tried my hand at a couple of space pirate stories. Got one out in consideration right now, but I don't know. We'll see. There might be an eventual.
Could be fun. Pirates are coming into style again.
Ooh,
so they are. It's awesome. So when you sit down to write, what's the first thing you do?
Is it consistent? All right. This takes a couple of different things. I think typically the first thing that I will do when I sit down to write, if I'm typing stuff out, is I figure out which set of music I need to listen to for the scene, and then I will pull up that specific Spotify list. I've got a range of nonverbal and verbal versions of things that hopefully won't distract me and have the right kinds of rhythms, momentums, things that I can follow. Or more recently, I have been studying under the tutelage of Martin, Martin Shoemaker. I've been chatting with him and frequently showing up whenever he's doing like the live storytelling stuff. And I'm like, I need to learn to dictate,
Mm.
because I will do like some live drafting while I'm out on a walk or while I'm driving, and it's they're very rough first drafts. But I want to get better at it because the word output is just so much faster. So for those, I don't have a routine really. I just kind of try to get over my nerves, turn on the Dragon software and the other recording things so that I can both get the audio recorded and the speech to text at the same time, and try to go through it as effectively as I can. Yeah.
Well, from what I've heard, it's a skill like everything else, right? So the more you do it.
Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah. Getting better as I go, I think. We'll work on it more.
Nice. Yeah, mine is still circular. I just have not worked at it enough, and quite frankly, haven't had the time.
Yeah.
So I have to get over the circular. Does no good if at the beginning I'm saying the same thing I said at the end I'm saying the same thing I said at the beginning.
Yeah.
But that'll be cool. What is your favorite holiday dish?
Favorite holiday dish. So I come from a big Greek family. And and I do make the comment usually when we get together for a holiday dinner, the turkey is always for show, right? They have the turkey out, but people mostly eat the rest of the stuff because
it's all the side dishes. That's
right. There's one particular dessert that one of my tias makes, and I don't know the real name for the dessert, but she calls it salami because of its shape. It's just shape alone. Okay. It's this like, it's this rolled log thing that has like a dark chocolate shell around it, and they slice it off in discs when it's in some state of like partially frozen. I don't know what's in it or how to make it. And in fact, like even in my head, it's not even pronounced salami. It's in my tia's voice, and I apologize for any of the Greek family in the audience if I'm gonna make fun. But she says, "It is the salami," and so the salami is my favorite holiday dish. And to the extent that she will say that she brings it just for me, which I really appreciate. Yeah.
That's so cool. So you have no idea what's in it? I've never heard of this.
I can tell you there's like a dark chocolate shell around the outside. The interior is some kind of a whipped mousse that gets solid-ish enough that they can put like I think they're just like Nilla wafers or something. Like they can put some kind of a wafer thing in there, so when you slice into it, you get cookie bits, mousse bits, and then dark chocolate around the outside. And it's just really good. Yeah, it tastes like everything that you would want from like a cookie dough ice cream, but like in this delightful little wafer. They just
That's so cool. And the most unique answer. You should win a prize.
Well, thank you.
Now that like travel has opened up a little bit, is there anywhere that you would like to travel to that you have not been to before?
Yes. I'm not sure what's going to be next on the list. So my wife and I are moving across country in like 2 weeks. So yeah.
Man, like right before Superstars. Holy moly.
Right, exactly. Yep, I know. So so we're going to arrive there probably on like the 30th or 31st of January, in our new house. Yay, new house. Hopefully get the books delivered that I'm having shipped to me by my publisher, and then on like what is it, the 7th or something, get on a plane to Colorado with whatever books have come in, if any. Yeah. And then I'm going to be jetting around a little bit because I've got that one, and then I'm flying to LA for the Reg of the Future Gala, and then back up to Seattle because there's another conference that I had applied for and kind of gotten involved in prior to knowing exactly when I'd be across the country. So those are some big ones that are kind of taking up the list. My wife and I do want to go back to Europe. We want to be able to do a little bit more exploring there. We did London and actually all of England and Scotland. We did, the long loop shortly before the COVID shutdown. In fact, we got back in January of 2020, and and everything shut down. Like, well, good timing. Yeah, but I would like to go back to Greece. I haven't been to Greece as an adult yet. So I'd gone when I was younger. Got to stay in the village where my grandfather was born, and and like I want to go back there and kind of re-experience that. A lot of people have been telling me that I need to go to Italy, and I'm not against it. I'm just not sure if it's my highest priority. Um, and there's
Well,
a
you might have to. Here's why. Because
yeah.
Florida Kevin just put up on from foodnetwork.com, Giada De Laurentiis. She has a
Okay.
recipe, excuse me, for chocolate dessert salami recipe. Yeah, so your aunt is she did not name it incorrectly. That is actually what it says. So that is what it's called.
Okay. All right. Well, I can trust Jada. Yeah.
That's so funny. You're like the whole time. It's like, and I'm sure it is called that because that's what it's shaped like, right? But
sure. I mean, yeah.
That's awesome.
I just assumed that it was the Greek family being Greek. Yeah.
Apparently, it's a Mediterranean thing. It's just kind of. Well, let's face it. There's a lot of crossover between Italy and Greece, even though they don't like to hear that, but it's true.
Yeah.
So
that's
pretty cool. Yeah. But you don't want to do Italy, even with like all of your like opera background.
I think I do. I'm just not sure if it's going to end up being the highest priority.
That's fair.
It's just hard to tell. Yeah. So my wife wants to go to France and do like, French wine country and that kind of thing. And that sounds like fun too. I want to go to Copenhagen for reasons that I'm not entirely sure of and don't know how much to articulate. Just whenever I hear about it, I'm like, this sounds wonderful. I really need to like vacation in Copenhagen. And my mental image is like just being there, loving the place, finding a nice little, apartment above some kind of a shop and writing a novel, and then potentially, having a ghost story experience while I'm there. This is my mental image of the place, so I feel like I should go.
I don't know. When you say Copenhagen, all I hear is Danny Kaye singing in my head, so I can't help it. That's what happens.
An option, yeah.
Yeah, Hans Christian Andersen. Bam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that would be fun. That would be fun. I love that. Like we're, practical writers. We know, like you said, 10 weeks you wrote the book, right? You didn't take, 4 years to, I mean, let's face it, the conceptualizing might have taken longer, but the actual writing is like 10 weeks. But yet we still have this wish, this desire to just hang out at the cafe and casually write our book as inspiration hits us.
Yeah.
That's fun. The dichotomy exists.
Yeah. There are a couple people in some of the writing groups who, post whatever kinds of buildings and vistas from different countries and that kind of thing. And at one point, I think it was Alicia Kay posted a picture of Hobbiton, like actual Hobbiton in New Zealand. And I made the very serious comment is like, we should organize a retreat there and write it off as a business expense. Like we'll just call it an official authors retreat and go hang out in Hobbiton.
You can have lots of hands up for that one. Lots of hands. There we go.
Yeah.
What a great
excuse. Have to happen someday.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I mean, the plane ride's so long, we'll get writing done on the plane.
Yep.
I mean, someday. No, that would be fun.
Yep.
I mean, they have 20 books to 50K all over the world and people go. So, could actually happen. And it's a lot cheaper if we're all like renting a place. I know there was a big writing group that like rented a castle in Scotland. Right. But because there was like 25 of them, it was nothing. Like the plane ticket was more than the rest of the time they spent there.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the weird thing about once my wife and I are on the East Coast, it will be cheaper to fly to Europe than it will be to fly back to the West Coast, which is just insane when we think about it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Who knew?
We just, I don't know, we started comparing prices, but mostly me and my wife. Like, she's very big into, like, the things are opening up, we can travel again. And I'm like, sweet, I'll follow.
Wherever you want, sweetie, let's go. Who watches the Parrot when you're gone?
That's going to be a question for wherever, whoever we talk to where we're living next. But previously, if we were only gone for a few days, we could leave her be, turn on some background Star Trek, and leave food around her cage for her to forage for, in addition to the usual locations. But then otherwise, we try to find friends or family to either pop in and check on her or to take her in for, if we're going to be gone longer than a few days.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a teenager that would come help. My daughter would, if we were close. So I'm sure there'll be a teenager who'd love to come over and play with the bird for a little while. If she let them get anywhere near her.
I mean, she's friendly enough.
It'll work. Friendly enough. It'll work. It'll work. I always wanted an African gray, but I figured at this point I'm way too old since they will live much longer than I will now.
Yeah.
I should have gotten one when I was like 16.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But it's kind of too late now. It'd be mean to get one now.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think we are on our lightning round. Lightning round. So what is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Mint chip most of the time.
Nice. You know, that one's very popular with writers.
Mm.
I find that funny. There must be some kind of scientific study in there. What's the first thing you do? Yeah, I don't know. It's something weird. Yeah. What's the first thing you do when you get up in the morning?
I usually do like the bathroom shower thing. It's pretty boring. But yeah.
No, that's fair. Do you prefer polos or button-ups?
Polos.
Polos, nice. What is your favorite chore? Oh, sorry. What is your least favorite chore? No, it is a favorite chore. What is your least favorite chore around the house?
Finding whatever went missing. I don't like having to relocate something that's been misplaced.
That's a chore?
It feels like it. Whenever there's like, there's something that I can't find in the house and I need to find it before I can do anything else, I don't like that one.
I love it. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Mike. You were amazing this evening. Where can fans find you and your work?
Well, the best place to find me is going to be my website. So I am at mikejackstoumbos.com. All one word and absolutely no R's in Stoumbos. And that website has been growing a little bit over the last couple of years. So trying to post things like, the most recent publications, places that I will be appearing in terms of like various conferences, conventions, so on and so forth. And then, yeah, like what we were talking about earlier, there is an etc. page where I will post, art samples and some of the music. So things that I posted on YouTube, parody lyrics, stories that I'm reading out loud. There's the Smeagol Golem back and forth conversation that I YouTubed with myself. And
what?
Yes. I
have to see that.
There. So there's also a YouTube channel, and that one is actually just Mike Stoumbos as opposed to Mike Jack. That was, I guess, pre the brand. Twitter at MJ Stoumbos. And I think I have an Instagram somewhere, and I'll have to dust it off and figure out how to post stuff on it eventually.
Me too.
Yeah, those are going to be the big ones. I do have a mailing list on my website. So I've been doing monthly newsletter, and along with talking about what I'm doing, what I'm working on, I've been trying to get into the habit of like reading other stuff from new and upcoming authors and people in the community, and then posting a couple of recommendations from those sets. Within every newsletter, because I really like having that community connection. So that's another thing that I've been doing, and yeah.
Nice. And if they sign up for your newsletter, you have a free story, right?
I do, yeah. Yep.
Yes. Free story. Sign up for the newsletter. Free story. Yep. And that's on I just saw his website today, and it's right there, easy to see.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Awesome. I just added the free story to it like 2 days ago, because I was like, all right, cool. I've got something that's back into my rights after it's been published, and yeah. Yep. And in 10 days, the second book of this fine crew launches. So book 1, Signal Out of Space, is already available and online. And book 2, A Rupture in Time, comes out in 10 days. So January 21st, and I'm going to be doing a launch event for that as well. Yeah, going to be reading some passages from the book in character voices, because I can't not. And showing some more of the concept art. And this time I actually think I'll get around to showing the actual character sketches. The first time somebody asked me about them, and I was like, no, those are just mine. You can see general sketches of the species, but those character sketches are mine. And a buddy told me that I should share them for the next book. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do that.
That's awesome. Excellent, excellent. So please, now that Mike is your new favorite author, make sure to review his books and also review us wherever it is you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on YouTube and subscribe on, I think I have that backwards. It doesn't matter. Twitch.tv/CursedDragonship or CursedDragonship.com/YouTube, so you can see all of our amazing interviews with our incredibly talented authors. And we will see you next week at 8 p.m. Central live with Jay Boyce. See you next time.